Speech off.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So, I'm here to do my favorites of 2025. I already did my favorite nonfiction and favorite middle grade. So I'm here to do my favorite fiction adult books. There's a lot of them, which is why I decided to split these videos. I'm not one for ranking books. I just went with the ones that stuck out to me the most throughout the year. So this is what we're doing. I hope the sound of the heater doesn't bother you. It's been cold here. Yeah, I know everybody else has snow and ice and, we're not allowed to be cold because we live in California, but it's cold. Anyway, I hope the sound doesn't bother you. I've listened to other videos before where I've had the heater on and it sounds okay, I think. I don't know. Anyway, let's just get started. I'll try to go quickly, but we'll see. So first we have The Guernsey Literary and Potato Peel Pie Society by Mary Ann Schaefer and Annie Barrows. This is a reread. I read it last year for Epistolary January. These first few are all January. I've had some really good epistolary reads this year. Yeah, you guys know all about that one, right? I mean, a lot of people talk about it in videos like the epistolary January recommendations. So, Juliet is a writer and she starts corresponding with people from Guernsey and, it's a really good read. I might read it again, actually, this year, just because I like it so much. We'll see. I've been doing a lot of rereads this month in particular. I'm in the mood. Anyway, next we have What I Would Tell You by Liz Tolsma. This is, like I said, another epistolary January read. I heard this is the Echoes of the Past series. You don't have to read any of these in order. They're just basically World War II stories where you have a present day timeline where somebody finds ancestry from the past and then, I heard about them from Christian Faith and Fiction. So, yeah, we have 1941. The pounding of Nazi boots on the streets of Salonika, Greece, reverberates in Mathilda Nessum's ears, shaking her large community of Sephardic Jews to its core and altering her life forever. So she basically does resistance work. She uses the newspaper she publishes to call people to action against the Nazis. And yeah, then there's a baby involved. She gets pregnant and she has to protect her kid. And then in the present day, we have Tessa. She does a DNA test with her cousin and she finds out that they're not actually related and that she's part Sephardic Jew. So why is that? You have to find out. There's Mathilda's diary too, so that's why it counted for epistolary. So yeah, then we have the Emerald Sisters series by Kate Hewitt. I'm putting the whole series because really the whole series was amazing. But the first one was called The Girl on the Boat. So, Germany, 1939. Quickly, take this emerald. This was my late mother's gem, and it will keep you safe. And I promise we will all meet again in Paris. When Sophie Weiss boards the SS St. Louis, she has no reason to stay in Germany. The Nazis have taken everything from her, and her only hope is to escape. But when she meets fellow Jewish refugees, Rosa, Hannah, and Rachel on board, the friendship they form gives Sophie hope that there can be happiness in her future after all. But their worst fears are realized when the boat is refused entry at a port they thought would be safe. Terrified of being sent back to Europe, the women cling together and desperately wait for news. At last, word reaches the ship that a friend of Sophie's father is willing to take her in, but there is only room for her. Quickly, Sophie unpicks the lining of her coat, revealing her late mother's emerald hidden in the lining. She hands a piece of precious stone to each of her friends, and the women promise to meet in Paris when this nightmare is over. So, yeah, basically each story is what happens to each girl. So that one is Sophie's story. We see what happens after she leaves the boat. Then we have the girl with the secret, the girl who risked it all, and the girl who never gave up. So, yeah, each story kind of starts on the boat, and we see as they all realize that they're going to not be let off the boat. It's a whole thing. And yeah, we kind of see what happens with each one. And there's kind of a cliffhanger at the beginning, because at the beginning, like, you see them all meeting up after the war, and only 3, we don't know which 3 make it, and there's one that they think is dead, that might be dead. It won't tell you if they are or not, but, like, you see, like, little clues. It might be this one, it might be that one, you know. So I'm really happy that I read it all at once, because it was coming out all throughout, I think, 23 and 24, or 24 and 25. Like, there was a couple books a year that were coming out. So I'm glad I waited for the entire series before I read it, because I was in it. Anyway, then we have The Appeal by Janice Hallett, another Epistolary January book. Heard about it from, honestly, everybody. Krista, Anne from In Search of Wonder. Lots of people talk about it. But basically, this is the Fairway Players, a local theater group, is in the midst of rehearsals when tragedy strikes the family of director Martin Hayward and his wife, Helen. Their young granddaughter has been diagnosed with a rare form of cancer, and the treatment costs a lot of money, so they're trying to raise money to give her a chance to live. But not everybody is convinced that the experimental treatment's efficiency or of the good intentions of those involved. As tensions grow, things come to a shocking head at the explosive dress rehearsal. The next day, a dead body is found, and soon an arrest is made. So basically, 2 lawyers sift through the material, emails, messages, letters, and they're trying to crack the case. It's really cool. People say that you shouldn't listen to it, but I love the audio. So, yeah. I really enjoyed the audio. It's got, like, little sound effects for the cell phone messages coming in. I loved it. And there's, like, a sequel. There's The Christmas Appeal. And there's another Fairways book coming out this year. I don't know what that one's about, but I saw it when I was looking at Kindle books. There's another one coming out, so I'm excited that we're back in the Fairway Players world. Then we have Love and Saffron by Kim Fay. This one is about 2 women, 27-year-old Joan. She sends a fan letter to 59-year-old Imogen. Joan lives in Los Angeles and is starting out as a writer for the newspaper Food Pages, and Imogen lives on Camano Island outside Seattle, writing a monthly column for a Pacific Northwest magazine. And they start writing to each other, I guess. And there's a lot of stuff about food, and yeah, it makes me hungry. And I'm going to add in Kate and Frida by Kim Fay. Frida is the daughter of one of them. I'm not going to tell you who, but yeah. You don't have to read them together. There's not a lot of crossover. You just know who Frida is if you read Love and Saffron. So, yeah. Anyway. Then we have The Girl with the Louding Voice by Avi DeRay. I've been hearing about this one forever. I heard about it from the Currently Reading podcast. But this one's about Adune. All you have are your words. Adune, she's a 14-year-old Nigerian girl who wants an education. She's a valuable commodity for her very broke father, and she is sold as a third wife to an old man. And it says, Adune's life amounts to this: 4 goats, 2 bags of rice, some chickens, and a nice TV. And yeah, it's kind of how she survives that. And it's really hard to, describe this one, but yeah, it's a really good read, and I want to read the sequel. Next we have One Good Thing by Georgia Hunter. I've been hearing about this one for months before I read it. Gloria talked about it. Alma from Alma's Book Journey talked about it. I liked We Were the Lucky Ones better, but this one was pretty good. It's about 2 friends. One of them is Jewish, one of them is not. And then they get, they're trying to survive the war together. one of them gets injured and then the other one is tasked to take care of her kid. And it's pretty much a long road trip, but it's really good. Like I said, it's not as good as We Were the Lucky Ones, but Georgia Hunter is talented. And it takes place in Italy? I think, yeah, Italy. Which is not something you usually see. Yeah, Italy. I just had to check because I was a little paranoid. But yeah, it's definitely part of the war I never knew much about. So yeah. Next we have The Story She Left Behind by Patty Callahan Henry. I like this one more than, what was the other one she wrote? The one about the girl who got kidnapped? I can't remember now. But that one was good, but this one's better. So, in 1927, 8-year-old Clara Harrington's magical childhood shatters when her mother, renowned author Bronwyn Newcastle Fordham, disappears off the coast of South Carolina. Bronwyn stunned the world with a book written in an invented language that became a national sensation when she was just 12 years old. Her departure leaves behind not only a devoted husband and heartbroken daughter, but also the hope of ever translating the sequel to her landmark work. As the headlines focus on the missing author, Clara yearns for something far deeper and more. Well, she wants her mother. I don't know why Goodreads writes it all weird. By 1952, Clara is an illustrator raising her own daughter, Winnie. When a stranger named Charlie Jameson contacts her from London, claiming to have discovered a handwritten dictionary of her mother's lost language, Clara is skeptical. Compelled by the tragedy of her mother's vanishing, she crosses the Atlantic with Winnie, only to arrive during one of London's most deadly natural disasters, the Great Smog. With asthmatic Winnie in peril, they escape the city with Charlie and find refuge in the Jameson's family retreat nestled in the Lake District. So yeah, I never heard of the Great Smog. That's a whole other time in history I didn't know about. You notice all my books are historical fiction. Well, this next one is not historical fiction. It's a romance. God Help Us, Who Am I? But Never Fall Again by Lynn H. Blackburn. I heard about this one from Tales and Treats with Tay and honestly everybody. Oshina, Lindsay from BFCG. Yeah. This is the first book in, I forget what series this is. Really, I only like this one so far. The other two were okay, but this is my favorite. So Landry Hutton has spent 3 years rebuilding her life behind the secure gates of the Haven, an exclusive resort on the outskirts of Gossamer Falls. That's a series, Gossamer Falls, North Carolina. As the artist in residence, Landry is finally ready to settle in permanently. She wants to give her daughter Eliza a safe place to grow up in, and hires former Marine Callum Shaw to handle the construction. Cal grew up in Gossamer Falls and always knew he would someday join his family's business. He longed for a family of his own, but is basically, romance ensues. This is like my favorite kind of romance because it's like, I like the single parent trope of it because that's really most of the time, the only time I'm really rooting for romance is because I like the whole Brady Bunch family thing. And I think I like the girl being the newbie in like the group, because like the next book is about another woman, but she's already in the group. And so like they're kind of like all the guys, like, you know, she has a history with everyone, so they're all bossing her around and I want to smack them. But like Landry is completely new, so they're all just sweet and nice, and you know, they're not being Neanderthals the way they are in the next two books, and I want to smack them. I loved this book. The next two, I don't know. I just wasn't as big a fan, but this one's my favorite. I liked Eliza. I liked Cal's relationship. Like, there was really barely anything that annoyed me in this one. But the next two, oof. The second one was like a novella. That one wasn't too bad. The third one, or I guess book 2, was kind of annoying. Book 3 is coming out sometime this year. I'm hesitant just because I haven't liked any of them after the first one very much. But I also want to see what happens, so I have to read them. Anyway, next we have another reread, The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna. I read this one with Lindsay from Lindsay's Little Library. And Sarah's Nightsand. They did, they have like a Booklist Thursday Facebook group. And we all buddy read that one that month. I forget which month it was. So yeah, I don't know, it was just a nice reread. Basically, we have the two sisters. Isabel and Vivian. Vivian is raising her daughter during the war and is kind of a rule follower, and Isabel is a rebel and they don't get along. Yeah, there's romance. You're gonna cry at this one. It's, you all know about The Nightingale, right? Next, we have a Titanic book, The Passenger by Frances Quinn. I heard about this one from Krista. I read that one in April. In the chaos of that terrible night, her secret went down with the Titanic, but secrets have a way of floating to the surface. So, trapped in an unhappy aristocratic marriage, Eleanor Coombs sees only lonely days ahead of her. So, a present from her father, tickets for the maiden voyage of a huge, luxurious new ship called the Titanic, offers a welcome escape from the cold, controlling atmosphere of her husband's ancestral home and some precious time with her little son, Teddy. Basically, she doesn't have time with him because the family doesn't think that she should be raising kids. Like, rich people have nannies to raise their kids, and she sees Teddy, for 10 minutes a day. So she wants to raise her own kid, and the in-laws are, So she took this time to go on vacation and spend some time with him. And then the ship goes down, and she realizes that the disaster has given her a chance to take Teddy and start a new life, but only if they can disappear because, listed among the dead. And so she's penniless, and using another woman's name, she has to learn to survive in a world that is poverty-stricken. She's a nobody now, so, it's a journey, and I enjoyed it. Next, we have The Princess Companion. It's a retelling of The Princess and the Pea by Melanie. Is it Cellier or Cellier? Voiceover on my phone pronounces it Cellier. I don't know. But yeah, I heard about the series from Lindsay from Books for Christian Girls. I haven't finished the whole series, but fairy tale retellings have been a new genre for me this past year, and so far this is my favorite. We have Alyssa finds herself knocking on the door of a castle in the middle of a storm. And she just wanted some shelter, and she ends up the Princess Companion. I mean, I did enjoy the romance, but I loved the unruly princesses aspect of it the best, so that's why it's my favorite. Next we have The Stepchild by Nicole Trope. This is my favorite of Nicole Trope's books so far. I own a bunch of her books, and a lot of them are hit and miss, but I've been trying to read them because this is the one that I found actually that sounded most interesting, and I bought it, and then I went down a rabbit hole and I bought almost all of them, which is stupid because I ended up DNFing some, giving a couple 2 stars, and then loving some. But then again, I guess I would have bought them eventually because I would have read one I loved. But yeah, this one's really good. It's about 3-year-old Millie Everly disappears. She gets kidnapped. Okay. It's a phone call every mother dreads. She's going grocery shopping. She gets a phone call. It's her stepdaughter, Shelby, who is babysitting Millie. Millie's gone missing. So, It's difficult because they've been having trouble with the stepdaughter. So did she do it? Did she not do it? That kind of thing. It's a really good read. There are some twists you did not see coming. Trigger warnings, though. I can't tell you what they are because it would be spoiling it, but yeah. Don't worry, everything turns out okay, though. I will say that. You're going to be fine. But it's a journey to get there, and you don't know who did it. So, yeah. Then we have another series I started. It's Elementary by Elise Bryant. Mavis, I forget what her name. It's a funny kind of cozy mystery type thing. What happens when parents get a little too involved in their kids' school, basically. Mavis Miller series. Mavis Miller is not a PTA mom. She has enough on her plate with her feisty 7-year-old daughter Pearl, an exhausting job at a nonprofit, and the complexities of a multi-generational household. So no one is more surprised than Mavis when she caves to Trisha Holbrook. You know, I wonder if they named Trisha Holbrook after Haley Holbrook in The Help. Because Haley Holbrook in The Help is a monster. And Trisha is not a whole lot better. Huh. I heard about this one from Ravenclaw Reads. So, if anyone else has read this, do you think that Trisha is Haley Holbrook? Anyway. Yeah. She is the long-reigning, slightly terrifying PTA president. And Mavis finds herself in charge of the school's brand new diversity committee, basically. So, yeah. As one of the few black parents at this California elementary school, Mavis tries to convince herself this is an opportunity for real change. But things go off the rails in the first meeting when the new principal's plans leave Trisha absolutely furious. Later that night, when Mavis spies Trisha in yellow rubber gloves and booties lugging cleaning supplies and giant black trash bags to her waiting minivan, it's only natural that her mind jumps to somewhere it surely wouldn't be in the light of day. Except Principal Smith failed to show up for work the next morning and has been MIA since the meeting. I mean, so did Trisha kill the principal or not? I mean, the hijinks. The series is amazing. There's a second book out. I didn't write down the title, but I mean, check this out. This series is amazing. And if you want to read a book for Black History Month, this is the book. Like, if you don't want to read like something slavery or serious or anything like that, but you want to support Black authors, get this. This is amazing. So yeah. Then we have One Last Child, Tallman Valley Detectives #1 by Annie Taylor. I heard about this one from the Currently Reading podcast. For the record, this is a series, but honestly stop after this one. The next one sucks. And this one ends at a perfect spot to where you're like, whatever. It's fine. You don't need to continue. I stopped after book 2. But this one is 5 long missing children are about to be returned. It was summer in the mountains when 5 small children vanished from their nursery school picnic. The heat was stifling that day, the tinkle of an ice cream van in the air. 3.5 years later, in the dead of winter, the children are returned to their families one by one. All except for Ivy, the granddaughter of homicide detective Kate Wakeland. The other 4 children say Ivy is dead. So, yeah. Is Ivy dead or not? You need to read to find out. But this is a really good one. And it's got a great Australian narrator, too. Because it's Australian. It's from Australia. Next, we have The Secret Life of Beatrice Albright by Brooke Harris. I heard about this one from Chloe from Always Booked. This one came out in February, and I should have read it during that time because it's a great winter/Christmas read. I mean, it's not all Christmassy. It's Christmas with, like, hard times. So we have Beatrice Albright is the queen of silver linings. She can find a spark of hope in any situation, even when her partner delivers earth-shattering news that leaves Bee and their 4-year-old Ellie without a home, she refuses to panic because Bee believes that what she has is... What? Because Bee is basically endlessly positive. I don't know what Goodreads wrote here. But yeah, she works at St. Helens Hospital, which offers a warm, dry shelter for her and Ellie to stay while she figures things out. So by day, she cleans the hospital wards, and by night, she tucks her daughter into bed with mops and buckets and tries to figure out what to do. Then Bee sees an old man sitting on a cold and lonely bench outside the hospital, and doesn't have time to chat with him, but she's too good to not chat with him. And it's about this curmudgeon and his relationship with her and the good things that happen because she's a good human. And there's a lot of hardship in this book, and it takes place around Christmas. So I think this is kind of a Christmas read, but it was really good too. I read it in August, which was a mistake because it was like hot and yuck. I don't like reading winter books in the summer because it just makes me hate summer more. Anyway. Then I reread I read the first 3 books in the Timeless series. I mean, you know about those. I'm not going to talk about those, but I reread them. Because Gabrielle Meyer, the author, was doing like a reread in anticipation of book 6. I stopped after book 3. I didn't really have time to read the other ones. And I don't really love book 5, so I didn't want to read that one. I meant to reread book 4, though. Maybe I'll do it this year. I don't know. We'll see. But, yeah. Everyone knows about those, so I'm not going into those. Then I read Land of Dreams by Lorraine Snelling. This is another one I heard about from Lou from Christian Faith and Fiction. I gave this in 4.5 stars because, well, basically it's about immigrating from Norway to America. We have Amalia Gunderson. She promises a dying mother to watch over her 5-year-old daughter, Ruth. So my only problem with this is that, like, Ruth's mother dies right on page 2 or something. So it's like, I mean, that's great and all. I'm all for this, but I wish we had seen a couple of chapters where they actually meet and you know what her mother is like and all of that. And no, she's literally dead on page 1. So it's like, okay, why am I taking care of this random stranger's child? I wanted a little more buildup. That's my only problem with it. But yeah, basically they go to Iowa to claim the farm and former boarding house that Ruth has inherited, and there's a mean cousin involved, and Amalia wants to restore the boarding house, and she has help from people, and there's orphans involved, and it's amazing, and I can't wait to read book 2, which I'm hoping to read. Then we have another series that's been everywhere, The Unselected Journals of Emma M. Lyon by Beth Brower. I heard about this one from everyone. Jen from Jen's Reading Life. Everybody's talking about it. Chantel. Yeah, everyone's talking about this series and reading it and listening to it. It came out on audio on my birthday month, the first 2 volumes. So I listened to them, and I've listened to the rest as they came out. I'm actually re-listening to them. I read listened to the first 2 volumes again this year for Epistolary January, and I'm already going back to volume 3. But yeah, Emma M. Lyon goes home to Lapis Lazuli House. In the neighborhood of St. Crispians. Basically, it's a British Stars Hollow with crazy characters, and it's amazing. The whole series is just amazing. The first few audiobooks are short, but the rest they get longer as you go on. But it's amazing. Like, just, it's wild. I can't even describe it. So, yeah. Then we have From the Valley Arise by Elizabeth Musser. I heard about this one from Katie from Paperbacks and Ponytails and book lover Amanda. In the heart of war-torn France, Isabel, I cannot pronounce her last name. Resolve is tested after her father sacrifices his life to protect her involvement in the French resistance. Heartbroken, Isabel becomes more dedicated to hiding Jewish children in and near the village of Sisteron, despite the growing danger when she discovers a traitor within the resistance ranks. Truth amid deception. So yeah, we have Isabel, and then we have Isabel's meets up with Peter Christens, who carries, he's got some trauma, and they face the war together. They're working together, and then we have 15-year-old Renee Amblard. Escapes a German attack, and he's got a Jewish child with him. So he seeks out Isabel, and yeah, it's about these 4 people, and it's really good. It's hard to describe. There's romances I didn't see coming, and that was weird. Then we have A Picture of Hope by Liz Tolsma. This is a different series. A photojournalist risks her life to save children, basically disabled children. So Nellie Wilkerson has spent the bulk of her time in London photographing pilots taking off and landing, and she's sick of it. So she basically jumps onto she stows away on a ship going to France, and she meets John Paul, and he tries to get him to take her to the front lines, and on the way they stumble upon an orphanage of disabled children and rescuing the children, and it's a great read. I loved it. It's my type of World War II book. Then we have Callie and the Pumpkin Seed, a Cinderella retelling by Sarah Baran, another book that Lindsay recommended. So we have Callie the baker. She's a baker trying to support her step family, and he's a prince running away from the biggest decision of his life. And yeah, he doesn't tell her he's a prince. It's a whole drama, but it was a great read. It's so short, I don't really want to talk about it much, but those stepsisters can go kick rocks. Like, she's way too nice to them. So, yeah. Then we have a surprise. Broken Country by Claire Leslie Hall. I heard about it from Sarah's Bookshelves Live, the podcast. She interviewed the author, and it sounded interesting, so I bought it. And then I think Krista read it and hated it. And I returned it without reading it. I returned it to Libro without reading it because me and her usually overlap a lot. Especially this is pretty much a book about adultery. But I kept coming back to that author interview. I'm like, I need to read this. I need to see why everybody likes it so much. And so I put it on hold at the library, and I read it, and I liked it. I see why people like it. I wouldn't say I loved it, but I was in it all the way to the end. So basically we have, the farmer is dead. He is dead, and all anyone wants to know is who killed him. Like, that's literally the first lines of the book. So we have Beth and her gentle, kind husband, Frank, are happily married, but their relationship relies on the past staying buried. But when Beth's brother-in-law shoots a dog going after their sheep, Beth doesn't realize that the gunshot will alter the course of their lives. The dog belongs to none other than Gabriel Wolf, the man Beth loved as a teenager, the man who broke her heart years ago. Gabriel has returned to the village with his young son Leo, a boy who reminds Beth very much of her own son who died in a tragic accident. So you can see where this is going, right? Grieving mother, this past love. You know, she wants to be with a kid. But yeah, so I thought, I'm gonna hate this woman. I remember I read another book, I forget what it was called, but it was about another mother who was committing adultery. But she had, I think that the difference is that one had living children, like, that she was neglecting. And this one I could feel a little sorrier for, because her kid was dead, and, like, you could see why she wanted to be with this little boy. He was sweet, and, like, she knew Gabriel. It was hard to hate her. I only really started despising her, like, toward the end of the book. There's a twist that happens. I'm not going to tell you what it is. But there's other twists where, like, this goes places I never thought it would go. I can't really tell you more, but it is. I see why people love this book. And the ending. Woof. I was bawling my eyes out at the end of that book. It was a great, satisfying ending for me. It's really hard to describe why I liked it so much, but I did. Do I want to read it again? No. Do I want to own it? Like, do I want to buy it again? No. I'm glad I returned it, because I never want to read it again, because it's not a journey I want to relive, but it was worth the read once. So yeah, that was a weird, what in the world did I just read? And I liked it. Then we have A Song in the Dark by Kimberly Woodhouse. I read this one in October. This was another one that I had my doubts that I would like, because this is a blind musician. I read it for Blindness Awareness Month, and I hate books about blind musicians. They're a blindness stereotype, and it's annoying, and I always want to roll my non-working eyes, but I like this. So we have blind virtuoso pianist Chesley Frappier embarks on a concert tour through rapidly changing Europe. Despite the dangers, she learns that Hitler's escalating regime of injustice is targeting other disabled people. Chesley realizes she's in a prime position to help those who are threatened reach safety. And then we have Rick Zimmerman. He gets an assignment from the British Secret Intelligence Service. He's surprised to learn he's basically going to be her personal driver. You can guess where this goes, but she also has her best friend with her. I forgot her name, Melanie, I think, who's amazing too, even though she's not in the description. She's traveling with them. I love her. And then Chesley's grandma's amazing. And what else? What's cool is that, like, they use Braille and, like, to make, like, these secret codes. And I just found it so cool that they used Braille in that way. Like, I appreciated the way they used it. It wasn't all music and how talented she was and what a prodigy she was and all of that. It was, like, more about the war than about her music, and I loved it. So, yeah. Last book, The Nanny Outside the Gates by Sherry J. Ryan. If you want to read some World War II, read Sherry J. Ryan's books. This is her newest one. Basically, we have Helena. She works at an orphanage, and one of the orphans, like, gets away from her. So she's chasing the orphan, and she accidentally ends up on, basically the, orphanage is right next to Auschwitz. So she's, like, chasing this kid, and the kid is about to, go into place she shouldn't go. And so she's chasing her. She gets caught by a Nazi officer, and he needs a nanny. So he gives her a choice: be my nanny or be sent to the camp for being out of bounds. So she ends up in this Nazi's house taking care of his kids, and there is a baby in particular that gets her attention, and it's a whole thing. I mean, it's an amazing read. She also meets another prisoner who's also working there. Gabrielle. It's a great read. So yeah, you should read some of her books. So yeah, that is all of my favorite books of this year. I have one more video to make about my books that I did not like this year. Thankfully, there aren't too many of those. So yeah, please like, comment, and subscribe. And I hope this wasn't too long. And I'll talk to you guys in my next video. Bye.
Speech on. Stop recording.